the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. We are proclaiming liberty one show at a time, and the next one starts right now. Hey, we're back again. Clint Armitage with the Liberty Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. So, we are on part 2 of the episode entitled Jesus Christmas. Last time, we were talking about the name and what the names mean, and we read through Isaiah 9, 6, and 7, and we found more names for Christ. Remember, I had talked about how Christ was not a last name, it was an actual title, and I finally learned that after a while. Anyways, also the other thing that we spoke about was he had names, and these names mean something, and the Christ means something. It means the anointed one. Well, there were other names listed in Isaiah 9, verses 6 and 7, and we read through that, and I'm going to read through it again just so we can take a quick look at it and talk about it again, because there was other names listed in verse 6 there that we didn't get to, break down. So that's what we're going to do for the second part of Jesus Christmas, because again, the name matters. That's why we should always be celebrating Christmas. Okay, so here we go. Verse 6 from Isaiah chapter 9. Okay, for a child will be born to us, a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. Okay, that's Isaiah 9, 6. So as we were mentioning before, we talked about Wonderful Counselor and what that actually means, and how the word wonderful really is much deeper than the way we use it here in our society, in our language. So we broke it down, and full of wonder was a better way to say it. And then being a counselor was a lot more. So the way Jesus does things as our counselor is super wonderful. Okay. And now let's move on. So we got through Wonderful Counselor. Now we're going on to Mighty God. Well, that one's a little bit more obvious, so we're not going to really spend time on that. Mighty God. And then here's the next one here, Eternal Father. Now, we won't spend too much time on this, but does this kind of, support the Trinity to you? It does to me. Now, some people can say that, well, no, it actually kind of contradicts it a little bit, because it's calling Jesus the Father, and he's not the Father. He's not God the Father. He's God the Son. And I don't really see it in that way. I mean, it does mean what it means. It's Eternal Father, or Father of Eternity is the actual literal meaning there. But to me, it doesn't cause any issue with me. It's the Trinity. Jesus said, the Father is in me and I am in the Father. So, I don't see an issue there with Eternal Father. That just supports the Trinity, that he is God. That's the way I look at it. So I don't really see a big issue with that. Okay. And then finally it says Prince of Peace. So that's the one we're going to focus on in this episode here, is Prince of Peace, because there's a lot more to that than what meets the eye here. Okay. So because what do we have in this world that we don't have? What don't we have in this world that we need? We need peace. And only Jesus can bring peace. He is the Prince of Peace, just like it says. And he's the only one that can bring true peace to this world. I mean, we've got so much stuff going on. It's so easy to just open your eyes in the morning, look on the news, look on your phone, look on the tablet, look outside, and we see disharmony, we see conflict, we see problems, anger, all these different issues for different reasons. But what we need in this world is peace. And, that's a tough thing to come by, because Jesus is the true Prince of Peace. And that's where we have to find peace, is in Jesus. And so now when we break it down here, so let's look at the word peace. What is peace? What's the literal meaning? Well, in Hebrew, the word for peace, as most of you know, is shalom. Right? Shalom. And it's used as a greeting, but it's used as a, something that references, something that's calm and tranquil and all that. And that you're kind of projecting it onto somebody when you're greeting them, right? Shalom. Shalom. So that's what it can mean. It reminds me of the word aloha. Okay, so, if you don't know, I'm actually from the islands there, but the word aloha actually means love, affection, peace, compassion, mercy. It's also used as a greeting too. Aloha. We've all heard that before, and it's used as to say hello or goodbye, right? Aloha, aloha. It's either one. But it actually is more than that. When you're giving someone aloha, that's why it's called the aloha spirit. It's more than just a word or a greeting. There's something behind the aloha, and it's the aloha spirit. And the aloha spirit actually projects love, affection, peace, compassion, and mercy. So in terms of being similar to the word shalom, shalom, I guess, there is some similarities there because, they both kind of project more than just a greeting. And so when we're talking about peace, we're talking, more than that. So it's the foundational meaning of peace is the spiritual harmony brought about by an individual's restoration with God. Okay, that's true peace. And that only comes from the Prince of Peace, like I said. And again, we have so many bad, just conflicts going on in this world that Jesus had to come and die. He had to, because there was no way we could do it on our own. And God had mercy on us and love for us and wanted us to have peace. But the only way we were going to do that is if Jesus came and died for us, because we would never been able to do that on our own. Now all we have to do is look to him, the Prince of Peace. Just as God's plan, came to fruition, like Isaiah said in verse 6 there, a child will be born, son will be given, the government will rest on his shoulders. And he's going to be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, and Prince of Peace. And so we have to rely on Jesus. And so this name means a lot more than just, Prince of Peace or just a tranquil time, that kind of thing. There's a deeper meaning to it. And as we look into it, we start to find that out. And so I'm going to read another passage because it kind of shows not only when we get this peace from Jesus and what he did and us accepting and the stuff we know as Christians, but there's something that we have to understand and connect to Christmas here. He is the Prince of Peace, and the reason he came to us was to offer that peace to us. But if you think about it, that is just amazing. That is just amazing grace and mercy and compassion on us. Now, he is the Prince of Peace. Now, what does that mean? Well, not only is he the man of peace, right? The Prince of Peace, the pinnacle of peace. It also gives a little bit of insight to his title, right? He's the Son of God and he's the Prince of Peace. And so what I'm going to read here is verses from Philippians 2, because it's going to give us a little bit more insight of what he did as a prince. Because if you think about it, no other prince in history on this earth would do what he did, because he came down and sacrificed himself for us. And he was born, and when he was born, he actually sacrificed something. And then so we're going to talk about that right here in Philippians 2. So I'm going to start in, let's go with chapter 2, Philippians 2, verse 5. Here we go. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on the cross. Okay? Actually, we don't need to go any further than that. We can look at just that and figure out that's enough right there. Christ, who being in the very nature of God, didn't consider himself equal to God and came down. He was born and took on flesh. Right? Taking on flesh. When you're the prince, when you are God himself, having the nature of God and the King of Kings, everything that puts you way above everybody else, and then you humble yourself to the point where you are born a human, limited. You limit yourself. Why? Just so you can complete your mission out of love to save all of us. And think about that. That is amazing, humility. I mean, you can't get by that at all. Just awesome humility is what he is. And so we looked at peace and what that means. And then we looked at prince and what that means. And so you got a prince, Jesus in the nature of God, humbling himself with humility to come down and be born for us. And then like in the end of verse 8 there in Philippians, to become obedient to the point of death, even on a cross. Because remember, dying on a cross was a criminal's death. How humble are you? How can someone be that humble? It is amazing. I can't fathom it. I just can't fathom it. And so now we know two things between Prince and Peace. He's the Prince of Peace. And he came down on this day as we celebrate the birth, humbled himself, not only to come down as a human, but to die on the cross. That's amazing. Thanks for joining me. This is part 2 of Jesus Christmas. And this is the Liberty Podcast. Until next time, stay safe, stay motivated, and keep seeking liberty. Thanks for joining us us for another episode of the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. If you want to get in touch, email us at info@clintarmitage.com.